Welcome viewers. In this video we are going to look factors to be considered for design of warehouse structures. So there are various factors we need to consider doing the design of warehouse structures. In this video we are going to look some of the main factors. So totally we are going to look the 7 number of factors to be considered for warehouse design. So in that we are going to look the duration of storage and constructions. So first of all, the storage capacity of the building we need to decide either it is a temporary or the permanent. Temporary means in case of if the storage period is like some from 6 to 1 year, we can call it as a temporary. If it is more than that, even if it is going up to 50 years or 100 years, then it can be considered as a permanent storage system. So this permanent or temporary storage system will be decide the which kind of structures we are going to do that, either it is a steel pre-engineered or concrete casted site or precast. So in concrete if you see there are two types of precast and casted site. So this will decide the construction based upon the construction duration of the requirement from the client or customer or the owner of the building. So this can be decided. So sometimes the customer or the client or the local practice used to say that casted site concrete is sufficient for warehouse building construction. So in that case the casted site concrete, but this casted site concrete will take more time in terms of construction duration. So where it required shuttering, formwork, reinforcement detailing on the construction stage, whereas it require more labors. So this kind of casted site is more familiar in where the labors are at a cheap rate, the location. Other than that, the factory made precast concrete element used to do helpful for constructing this warehouse in terms of concrete structures. And most of the countries used to follow the steel fabrication or pre-engineered buildings for warehouse. So this is a familiar and in terms of construction feasibility, the steel are more predominant construction technique followed for warehouse structures. Depends upon the construction duration, so and the storage duration, this will vary. Next one is a purpose. This we already seen in our previous video. There are some 9 number of purpose are listed here: compensator building, battery energy storage buildings, sports arena, indoor type, stockpiles, transit storage building, food grade warehouse, generator buildings, converter buildings, apparatus vehicle storage. So detailed discussion we already seen in our previous video, so we can skip detailing about this purpose now. And capacity of storage, so this will decide the geometry of building in length, width and number of floors. Sometimes the capacity of the building have more compared to the land availability. In that case we need to go with a multiple floor. A number of floors can be increased, either it is 2 or 3 or even more. So it's this capacity of storage will decide the number of floors, length and width, the dimension of the buildings in order to accommodate the storage capacity. Similar like various other requirement such as control room, supervision room, monitoring rooms or any meeting rooms required, so that can be decided according to the capacity of storage, this factor. Sometimes this entire building required a monitoring system where some permanent employee used to occupy the buildings to maintain the materials getting in and out, and also the some storage of documents and documentation rooms to be considered. So depends upon the requirement of the rooms, the building length, width and the number of floors can be increased or maintained. So this will provide the splice requirement of floor beams, loads and drift access to other floors. So these will affect other parameters also. So the capacity of the storage is one factors we need to consider among all the 7. Next one is requirement and capacity of cranes. So inside the building we need either the chain hook like this, chain hoist, to lift and maintenance of any equipment inside the building or any material inside the building, or the monorail cranes which is in the right hand side, or else the double beam crane inside the building for large lifting and maintenance and transportation of inside the building materials. So there are a lot of materials inside the buildings while which require the lifting and placing of equipment or material inside the building. So in that case we need the chain hoist in the left hand side, or the single and double beam crane girder inside the building which is in the right hand side. So accordingly the beam arrangement and the fixing of the crane and hoist hook we need to decide. So this also will affect or need to consider while doing the design of warehouse. So accordingly the forces and the moving load concept we need to consider while doing the design, because this crane are having the moving in both the direction x and y in plane of horizontal axis. So that the loads we need to consider, it's a moving load, so that also impact the design consideration. Next one is access. Sometimes the vehicle movement is inside the building we need to consider. In terms of turning radius we need to consider, because this turning will hit the building frames. So accordingly the entry doors should be widened. Most of the cases the warehouse used to have the rolling shutter kind of arrangement, where this easy access of a vehicle or any heavy materials is possible, because this rolling shutter we can fix at any height up to 10 meter or width of 10 meter in terms of easy access of a vehicle. So for that rolling shutter we need to consider the beam locations and the column location accordingly. So this is one of the factors to be considered while doing the design. And next one is a staircase and the ladders for raising to the other buildings in access to other floors. So that also we need to consider. Sometimes the cage ladders to be fixed in various beams like this, or else a separate staircase is required for moving the materials and the people from one floor to other floor who are inside the building. So the building to be decided according to the requirement of the stairs and ladders in case of multiple storage buildings. So like maintenance requirement, the inside platforms also need to consider, like in left hand side. So this will help to maintenance and the regular movement of materials and the people inside the building to access the materials or maintenance equipment. So likewise this access is one of the factors to be considered for warehouse design. Next one is MEP. So this MEP will comprises of cooling systems, fire systems, small power and HVAC requirement. So this MEP cooling systems is major things which are impact the openings of floors and beam and the secondary beams requirement to hold the pipelines. So here in this picture you can see the beam which is running from left to right inside the building used to hold the pipeline of the MEP, the cooling system or firefighting system. So for this we need to provide some secondary beams or main beams inside the building to hold these pipelines. So similar like here you can see the riser pipe of the cooling system, which is to be supported with the brackets mounted on the building wall. So here also you can see another brackets. So not only this pipeline support, we need to provide additional beams inside the building, also for the other small power equipment such as some mechanical motors or electrical lighting system and the cooling system. We need to provide some support structures on the wall mounted or roof mounted systems. So here you can see some light fixtures which is to be mounted on the wall. So for that the cladding system need to modify somewhat in terms of metal building, or in concrete we need to make it some, but this will not affect the framing system. But for other equipment like electrical equipment, the motor fixing and the mechanical systems, we need to consider this MEP factors to be considered. And this one is a close view of pipeline which is required, the tray system which is to be supported on the building roof and the building column. So this is a outdoor cooling unit or cooling tower. So in this case there won't be any impact on the warehouse design, but if this cooling system used to mount on the floor of the building or the terrace floor of the building, then we need to consider the cooling system or cooling tower loads and their fixing detail on the building. So this mounting detail we need to consider while doing the design. Also the load transfer from the cooling system to the top floor of the building we need to consider while doing the design. Accordingly the structure beams and the frames to be modified. So these are the HVAC layout where it's having the duct and riser and the holding point of HVAC. So you can see that various duct is running from here and there with the various diameter and the size of the duct. Also the riser and the fixing point of the HVAC unit, you can see that the duct opening. So this will decide the duct opening, where we need to look into that this duct opening should not clash to the building frames. If required, this duct to be supported with the beams inside the building. So accordingly this will affect the building design also. Sometimes in terms of concrete building, if you are designing, this will change the column location also, this duct arrangement. Also for building a metal building, if you are designing, this will provide the column location, also the frames inside the building. If any frames to be modified or any cladding should be opened, duct opening is required, that need to be decided according to the HVAC layout requirement. So this is a 3D visual of HVAC. So this bus duct air vent to be fixed to the wall or any of the structural frames, so that we need to consider while doing the design. So this will impact the structural framing system while doing the design. So these are all the duct and the control point of the HVAC, where some of the control point used to fix on the building wall. So if required, some secondary beams need to be provided while it's going to fix on the steel building. And finally the building approval from local environmental boards. So depends upon the various countries, norms and regulations, we need to follow the building approval from local environmental boards. So this will provide the restrictions. Some of the country used to have some green concept, green building design concept. So in this there are some restriction while using the multiple carbon emission structures. So this will reduce the pollution. So some local authority used to have some restrictions in reduction of carbon consumptions, so they don't prefer for concrete structures mostly, and the debris which is causing through while doing the construction of the concrete structures. So lot of regulations, even the building setback and space allocations for the building constructions, so those norms to be considered while doing the design. So local environmental board requirement to be adopted while doing the design. So also the public safety need to consider while doing the design according to the building approval authority. So there are a lot of regulations to be considered. So that's all about these factors affecting or factor to be considered for warehouse design. So these are the major summary which we have discussed in this video. Duration of the storage and construction purposes, we have seen a lot of 9 number of purpose. Capacity of storage, that will change the geometry of the buildings in length, width and the number of storage. Requirement and capacity of the cranes will decide the location and fixing beams of the cranes to be hold, and the buildings load criteria, either it is to be considered the moving load of the cranes, so that can be decided according to the requirement and capacity of the cranes. Also the fixing detail of the cranes is very important while doing the design of warehouse. At what height we need to fix the cranes, and the moving direction of the cranes are the major factors to be considered. And the fifth one is access, like turning of the vehicle inside or any of the object inside the rooms, inside the warehouse, the entry doors, staircase, stair ladders, inside platforms are the factors to be considered while doing the design. And MEP, cooling systems, fire system, small power, HVAC. For building approvals, as we see that a lot of regulations in local authority to be considered. So this will also change the material types to be used for the constructions for buildings, and also the design of frames, building frames. Accordingly, this will vary. So the clearance of the building approval to be considered. So these are the 7 factors. There are also other factors to be considered while doing the warehouse design that I may missed in this video. You can add in this comment if you have any other further factors to be considered for warehouse design. So with this we can end this video. Thanks for watching this video. Look description for more related videos. Subscribe to this channel for more updates. Thank you.